But all right. So episode 22.
I think.
Right?
I think. Yes, 22.
Okay, all right. So shit.
And people give zero fucks about Paul
Running
Walker.
scared.
God damn. That's the most abysmal fucking response ever. Ever.
The fact that more people were curious about what our buddies than Paul Walker and Vera Farmiga in Running Scared. It's
sad. It's so sad. He's Tony. I'm Mike. We're here to watch a little burn. Episode 22. We're doing 2006's Inside Man. This was released March 20th of 2006. Directed by Spike Lee.
He did Clockers. He did 25th Hour. He did Do the Right Thing, obviously, which is kind of like one of the big ones that everybody knows him for. Spike Lee has a long and illustrious career, and I think he is probably weirdly like one of those filmmakers that people think they know what a Spike Lee film is, and this movie is proof that no, they don't.
It's directed by Russell Gouetz. I butchered that.
That's fine.
I'm not even sorry. Fuck it. I don't care anymore.
When you string that many consonants together, any pronunciation is fair game. So I'd like to buy a vowel, Russell.
So anyways, let's tear through the cast since we're bringing it up. Denzel Washington as Detective Keith Frazier. Clive Owen as Dalton Russell, who is the leader of the heist. Jodie Foster as Madeline White. How would you describe her character?
She is a behind-the-scenes power broker. She is who rich and powerful people go to that need a very odd or excessive or shady favor. And she, basically swims in those waters like a shark. And yeah, it's pretty well developed within the confines of the movie without really telling you who she is or what she is.
Yeah. And then you have Christopher Plumber as Arthur Case, who is the man that's trying to protect his interests in this bank.
Yeah, and Christopher Plumber just passed away a couple weeks ago, and that was another one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this movie, because I was like, Christopher Plumber passed away. I'm kind of bummed about that, and you're like, who the hell is Christopher Plumber? And I started spitting out all these roles, and you're like, I cannot picture who that is, and that's how we wound up with Inside Man. So now you have him firmly planted in your head, and the minute that he started talking, you're like, oh yeah, that guy. So...
Well,
you're forgetting William Dafoe, who
God, he's in it for like 2 fucking seconds.
Yeah, he's the head of the SWAT team. And then Denzel Washington's partner, and I cannot pronounce his name. I'm not even gonna lie, but he's been in a ton of stuff. Most recently, he was in the Serenity movie, which was the sequel to the Firefly series.
Yeah, but again,
he was in 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I don't know. I didn't look him up because he's not important.
He is important.
No, he's not. He is just there so he can banter back and forth with Denzel Washington. That's all he's there for. Because he does nothing in the movie. He does nothing in this movie except for go, God damn, Denzel, you're fucking so badass. Let me suck your...
It's a brilliant cast. It is just everything about this movie is quite... Now, you were saying Spike Lee was not who was originally set to direct this. What's the story on that?
Ron Howard was originally set to direct this.
Really?
Yeah. Ron Howard couldn't do it. I think it's because Universal Pictures was supposed to do it first, but then Imagine Entertainment took it over. And I think that's when Ron Howard walked away. Probably because
Oh,
he's under contract with Universal, would be my guess.
so
Speculation, I don't know.
I can definitely see this as a Ron Howard vehicle, especially like after a movie like Ransom. And I'm sure that that was why they wanted Ron Howard in the first place, because Ransom was like a really big thing. So I'm kind of glad Ron Howard didn't get to do this one. I love Ron Howard as a director when he's doing historical films, but like these, big set piece action, heist, smart thriller films, not exactly what he's renowned for. Spike Lee, on the other hand, um, Spike Lee has done just a ton of movies, and I have seen almost everything in his filmography. And I think a lot of people think that Spike Lee just does movies like Do the Right Thing and Jungle Fever and those kind of movies. And that's not at all true. If you want a real taste of like how accomplished and really great a filmmaker that Spike Lee is, watch Clockers. Because Clockers is a look at life in a poor African American neighborhood, in the projects and the people that are trying to get out of it and the avenues they have to try to get out of it. And it doesn't glorify drug dealing. It doesn't glorify, like, there's no like, oh well, they're going to be the one that gets out because they did the right thing and stuck to their principles. None of that bullshit. I also really love, it's 25th Hour, right?
Yeah, 25th Hour.
I keep thinking it's 24th Hour. I'm like, no, it's 25th Hour. And that's Ed Norton. He's supposed to go to jail and he's trying to figure a way out of it. And it's a really strong character piece. This kind of falls in a weird place. It's not typical of a Spike Lee film, but you can see Spike Lee's fingerprints all over this movie.
Yes, you can.
And to me, it's to the film's benefit, because
I'm going to disagree with that, but we'll talk about that after we talk about everything else. Let her rip.
I was just going to say, for me personally, and one of the reasons why I enjoy this film as much as I do, is this is a movie that's all about the journey. The end, the payoff is fucking spectacular on this movie, but the journey, you get to actually see, like, because of how they present the film, you get to see how Denzel Washington's character works. You get to see how Clive Owen's character works. You get to see how Jodie Foster's character works. And you get to find out more and more about Christopher Plumber as the plot goes on. And none of it feels forced or, we're trying to slide this in here. Oh, we've got to mention this at this part because it's this part of the movie. It never feels like that. It's such a well-constructed script that, again, without going into all the ins and outs of this, it starts to, deconstructing it is a hell of a lot more interesting to me than the ins and outs of the plot.
Okay.
So, anyway, it starts off with Clive Owen, Clive Owen is one of those actors that he's not a great actor. He is a great presence. No, and I mean this when I say this. In the right role, Clive Owen owns it. In the wrong role, Clive Owen sticks out like a sore thumb. And it's very much the same with like George Clooney. George Clooney in Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Dusk Till Dawn. I think that's a George Clooney role that, like, he so carried that movie.
Yeah.
But
Up in the air.
In the right role, Up in the Air, Michael Clayton, he's perfect for it, and you just go along with it. In the wrong role, Batman. You have that, like, why did they hire this dude? He can't act. So when he's right, he's 1,000% right. When he's wrong, he's 2,000% wrong. And Clive Owen is the exact same kind of actor. But in this particular role, he was tailor-made for this. So, but we're introduced to Clive Owen, and he's letting you know straight out that he is going to be telling us the story. It's all going to be seen from his point of view, and that he is going to reveal stuff to you exactly when he intends to and not a second before. And it's a really well done monologue. It doesn't come off cheesy or hammy. And there's a lot more going on in that monologue than you realize when you first see it, which I think is one of the really great parts of the reveal of this film.
Yeah. It's a really short monologue. It's like maybe 10 lines long, if that.
Maybe. And one of the first things he says is,
"Pay strict attention to what I say, because I choose my words carefully and I never repeat myself."
It's kind of brilliant in that setup, and automatically, like within the first 60 seconds of the film, you appreciate how smart and well thought this plan is going to be, because that character is automatically, putting it out there in a convincing way. So we kick that off. We get a brief introduction to Denzel Washington's character, who's a cop who's been accused of being on the take, that there's some money from a check cashing thing that he didn't arrest, and the guy that was arrested basically said, hey, this guy swindled $140,000 and it's missing, and I'm sure if you go poking around his bank accounts you'll find it there. So he's a detective, but he's in the doghouse at the moment pending the outcome of that investigation. It kicks off really fast. We get some brief introduction to some of the folks that are in line at the bank. And while they're in line at the bank waiting to do their business, Clive Owen and his group come in, and everybody's face is covered. They're all wearing jumpsuits, so you can't really tell much. There's no distinguishing features. Everybody has sunglasses on. Again, this all comes into play as all this unravels. Clive Owen goes in, he knocks out the cameras that they are using for recording, security footage, and then they bust in hard. They come in, guns blazing, and hey, everybody get down on the ground, and they lock the bank up, and they specifically wait for a cop to be coming by outside to let him know this place is being robbed. And naturally, the cop goes off and calls his superiors, but because they're shorthanded detective-wise, Denzel, who has been in the doghouse, he gets assigned this particular case. So he gets sent down there, and the whole media circus starts. It's very Dog Day Afternoon. It's a classic. If you haven't seen it, check that one out. If you do check that one out, you will appreciate this movie so much more, because they managed to capture all that energy and do it again here. Clive Owen and his company immediately goes to work. They get all the patrons in the bank down into the basement. They take all their cell phones. They strip everybody down, put them all in jumpsuits, and put them into separate rooms, and basically start about their business of robbing the bank. And it's at this point that Christopher Plumber, who is the chairman of the board of the bank, and turns out this was the actual first bank in his banking empire, he is informed that their bank is being robbed, and he immediately goes and calls Jodie Foster, and we're introduced to her character with I understand you're somebody who's completely discreet and can handle a problem. And she's like, well, yeah, obviously. Somebody gave you my number, so they were happy with my services. What is it that you need? And she basically lays it out that, yes, I will work for you. Christopher Plumber basically states that he has some items that have been hidden in the bank for a very, very long, long time in a safety deposit box. And if it was ever to come to light what was in that security deposit box, it would be very embarrassing for him, and he would have some very difficult questions to answer.
Yeah.
And so Jodie Foster is hired to basically try to get herself injected into this situation and make sure that those items don't come to light. But we're never actually told what they are. Kind of brilliant. Then again, Jodie Foster's never actually told what they are, so it's not like they're holding out on the audience. He just literally says, this is what I need you to do, and I just need to make sure that this doesn't get found out. So,
well, it's kind of like either if you can't retrieve it, make sure it's not retrievable.
Yeah,
is how it's put out.
So anyway, as it goes, we're then like dive headfirst into Denzel Washington trying to, basically, pull the whole, hey, I'm your pal, I'm here to get this situation resolved. And Clive Owen ain't having none of it. He is basically shutting down every by-the-book play that the cops are attempting to do. He is making sure that they are not going to try to breach the bank. He is making sure that they can't tell who's a hostage and who's actually one of the bank robbers. He's making sure that they are 100% completely in the dark as to what's really happening inside of the bank the entire time that it's going on. It's smartly done. It's really well handled, and again, go along for the ride on this one. It's still completely worth it. But how do I cover this without like literally just going through the step by step on this one?
Well, I mean, here's kind of the long and short of it. It takes a while, but Denzel Washington eventually figures out that the heist is exactly what it seems. What he's asking, what Clive Owen is asking for, isn't really what he wants. So they made that determination. And while that's going on, Jodie Foster does get into the building and is able to speak to Clive Owen. And some information is revealed to Jodie Foster. But she doesn't quite exactly accomplish her mission.
I would actually go the opposite direction and say that she does and doesn't at the same time. And I say
no,
without giving anything away, she's supposed to acquire what Christopher Plumber, sent her in to get a hold of. Clive Owen basically lets her know, hey, look, I know why you're here. I know what you're asking about, and I'm not giving it to you. It's my insurance policy that if this goes belly up, I have some leverage over you guys
right.
to make sure that I don't spend any time in the slam. So
again, she doesn't accomplish her mission because she doesn't retrieve the box, nor does she make it unretrievable.
No, but
she fails.
Well,
she utterly fails, but yet she still gets paid. So good on you, Jodie Foster. She's a spin master.
She is not working on commission, damn it. So basically, we then get to see intercut into the actual heist is the interviews that Denzel Washington and his partner are doing with the hostages after the heist has ended. And so we're getting this shown to us first person. We're getting to see it from the view of the bank robbers. Then we're getting to see it from the view of the cops. Then we're getting to see it from the view of the hostages that were taken. And they thread this throughout. It's so complex and it's so expertly done. It's really brilliant how nothing gets given away until they really want you to know. That's as far as I want to go with the plot on this one. I don't want to give away the ending. The ending is great. It's immensely satisfying ending. And it's an ending that really puts this movie kind of above most heist films for me. It's not simple. It's not oh well, these are the cool guys and they got away with robbing the casino. Yay! It's a bit more involved than that. So if you want like some heavy drama with some really good acting and some really good action and a really engrossing story and plot, this is your jam. This is such a well structured film. But put your phone down because there's a lot of shit going on in this movie. It's hard to follow if it does not have your complete attention.
Yeah. It's a very smart script. The actors are very good. I like certain aspects of Denzel's character. The problem I have is it's Denzel Washington, but Denzel Washington cranked to 11.
You're not wrong.
It's very exaggerated. If they would have dialed his character back a little bit, even just one notch, even him at 10 would have been fine. But he's just a little too saucy in some things. It's like, I can see why some of your peers don't like you that much. He's kind of a cocky dick. You're kind of a douche. Jodie Foster's character really at the end was fucking pointless. At least her character wasn't pointless, but her job was pointless. She did not accomplish her fucking job. that really bugged me. That really bugged me a lot. And the fact there was no repercussions for her failing at her fucking job. You know, she just duped and spent it on Christopher Plummer.
If she had succeeded, it would have made Clive Owen's character dumb. Because Clive Owen knew what he was there for.
So that's the problem with this is the trappings of the script. For as clever as it is, it also has some stupid moments. I don't know what you would have done to change it, but I don't know. It didn't work for me. That aspect of the movie didn't work. I think I would have liked it better if that was actually just left out altogether. I think you could have left her out. I think you could have left out Christopher Plummer altogether and just had it been just the heist. Because still, the reveal at the end is still the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
I think those two elements weren't necessary for the film, and you could have condensed the story down to an hour and a half, and then we had a nice, fast-paced, great crime drama, and because let's face it, the banter between Denzel Washington and Clive Owen are the best parts of the movie anyway. Them going back and forth.
There's most definitely that. There is the cat and mouse between Clive Owen and Denzel. And yeah, you're right. That is the best part of the movie. But I think there's some really memorable moments outside of that. And actually, I think my favorite part of the movie is when he gets all the hostages in the basement together at the bank and goes through that, does anybody else think they're smarter than I am bit?
Anyone else here smarter than me?
I love every bit of that. And the whole thing with the cell phones, I really, really love how that was executed. It was so unexpected and so smart. And when he does it, at no point are you like, why did he do that? No, the minute that he does something, you're automatically going to know why he did it, and then you're going to see what the fallout of that was.
Yeah.
So it's really, for me, everything about this works. And I realize that you may not like the whole Jodie Foster portion of it, but I really think that without Christopher Plummer, without the guy that was trying to hide the secret, without the guy that, this is how he got his bank started, without that aspect of the story, without that detail in there, the rest of it would have been a romp as opposed to something with a bit more meat on it. I think it works. I was gonna say, I like her character. I like her interaction. I like that build up and that payoff on that one. At the same time, I understand why you have misgivings about it. It works for me, but I've seen this movie probably a dozen times, and so I know all the ins and outs and the details and exchanges and what else going on. So I'm not saying you need to watch it a dozen times to get all that, but it is there. So
again, but let's move on because we're
I was going to say, you think you've seen this before, but you've never sat through the whole thing. What are your thoughts on this movie?
Well, I mean, we covered the big ones. You can tell that it's not a true Spike Lee movie.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, you could tell that he has his prints on it, but it doesn't have the DNA of a Spike Lee movie. That's obvious, and it was kind of a glaring point for me as well. It didn't ruin the movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it stands out.
Yeah, no. I agree with you 100% that no, this is not pure uncut Spike Lee. You can definitely see the fingerprints of others all over this film, and you can definitely see the fingerprints of big studio all over this film. But at the same time, the performances that he gets out of people, the way that he frames a shot, the way that he constructs this story, you can see his style all over it.
No, he's a competent director. I will say that all day long without hesitation. He's a very good director. But just obviously that wasn't this film. And then beyond that, I mean, how would I rank it? Like compared to like other heist films, or what kind of grade would I give it, or even would I recommend it?
All those.
I, I don't know if I'd recommend it. It it wouldn't be my first recommendation for a heist film. So I'd say, hey, Mike, recommend a good heist film. It wouldn't be one of the first ones that come out of my mouth, for sure. But it is very clever. It is very well done. I feel like you, and you probably feel like me because it seems like roles are reversed. Like you love this film, but there's just little details that I just can't get past.
I get it.
Yeah, well, it's a perfectly fine film. There's absolutely nothing really wrong with this film, but there's just subtle things that I just don't enjoy, and it kind of taints it a little bit.
See, I'm going to say, for me, this is one of those films that it's like a perfect introduction uh, to Spike Lee because you get to see some of his trademarks, and they're not, full blown on display, but it's also it's a really great example of the kind of character work that he does, how he paces stuff, how he puts stuff together. But um, I think that Clockers, which I think is a far superior film, Clockers is a fucking masterpiece. There's no other way to say that. But that is something that you're probably going to need to be a film buff to get into that one because it is not a popcorn film. It is not like, oh, just go in and turn your brain off for a couple hours. It's very deep and it's very dark and it's very disturbing and it's very upfront with certain realities. And that being said, this is kind of a crowd pleaser for Spike Lee. The cop's a good guy, the robber's a good guy, the bad guy's a really fucking bad guy, and he gets what he's got coming, god damn it. And so in that regard, and as far as an accessible Spike Lee film, this movie fires on all cylinders.
Yes. I would say this. If there's somebody out there that says they don't like Spike Lee films, you can show them this film. Don't tell them it's a Spike Lee film. And then reveal at the end that, hey, you just watched a Spike Lee film. What'd you think? Oh, it really wasn't that bad. Or, I enjoyed this. Maybe that would turn somebody on to a Spike Lee film that normally would.
Yeah, exactly. I say, and I kind of am thinking this movie reminds me of True Romance. And that True Romance is a Quentin Tarantino movie, not made by Quentin Tarantino. That was the first script that Quentin Tarantino sold, and it was directed by Tony Scott. And Tony Scott is Ridley Scott's brother. Tony Scott did Top Gun and Dominique and all these big, sexy, visually impressive action films. That was his hallmark. Tony Scott had a visual language, and you could always tell a Tony Scott film when you saw it. And True Romance most definitely falls square into, yes, this is a Tony Scott film, but at the same time that you're watching it, you're going, and this is also a Quentin Tarantino film because Quentin Tarantino's DNA is all over that movie.
Yes.
And this is kind of the same thing for Inside Man. It is most definitely not, and yet perfectly is a Spike Lee film. I love this film. I think that, yeah, absolutely. This is a perfect introduction to Spike Lee films. If you want to see just how much style and how well crafted a Spike Lee film can be, this is your starting point. If you like this, then watch Clockers, then watch 25th Hour, watch all of his more character-driven stuff. Shit, watch He Got Game. That's a masterpiece as well. But they're very loaded films, and it is all very much about the African-American experience in economically fucked up areas. So this is much lighter fare than what Spike Lee normally does, and it shows. So anything else? No? So
that's 7 piece.
What are we watching next?
So next we're watching Tango and Cash. Sylvester Stallone damn it, Kurt Russell. It's getting close to that summer season, so I was thinking of a bullshit popcorn fucking zero fucks given action flick.
Okay. You nailed it, man. I have no idea that was what Mike was going to pick. I'm terrified and delighted at the same time. I'm hoping that after Tango and Cash, we can do Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man as a follow-up. And then we can wrap it all up with Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth. Oh shit. I'm partially aroused right now. Hell, I haven't seen Tango and Cash in a very long time. I'm excited.
Dude, I haven't seen this movie in, oh my God, years and years. It has to be at least 20 some odd plus years since I've seen this movie last. And I don't know what made me think of it, to be honest with you. It just popped in my head one day. Because I was struggling to think of what we're going to do next. And I'm like, man, what the hell? And I was thinking, well, summer's coming up. What's a decent summer flick? And Tango Cash. I got nothing. I don't know. I don't know how my own mind works, okay? I'm sorry.
Look, after running scared, I'm not afraid of anything. I mean, come on, people. We had a lot of work into that video and 9 fucking views. Paul Walker was an artist. He's dead. He deserves a little respect. I mean, fuck, it's not like he's going to have a big comeback. Fuck me. I'm just saying. So, on that note, we will catch you next time.
Peace, Paul Walker. Zero fucks for Paul Walker.